So the setting is a coffee shop, and the coffee shop has a promotion. The promotion is if you like the coffee shop's page on Facebook, then you get a free coffee. So what they're basically doing is they have sort of an undercover team in the background in a van, like one of these sort of cybersecurity movies. And whilst people are liking, obviously you go inside the coffee shop and you like it, whilst people are ordering their coffee, they're actually doing research on that specific individual. And obviously it takes like 5 or 6 or 7 minutes to get a coffee from one of these shops. And you can see that, on this sort of hand of hers, there's all the information about that person. And it's quite scary, the amount of information that they managed to pull out in 6 minutes or so. So I guess sort of the whole like lesson from this is that there's a reason why stuff is for free. I guess it's that whole sort of lesson that nothing is really free in this world. And the reason why all of these sort of companies have these promotions, especially to download their app, is to sell your data. And it's very important that, I guess, if you sign up to these promotions, that your data isn't out there. So yeah.
Hey Ali, do you mind sharing your screen again as well so that we can see your
Yes, that is important.
Yeah.
Cool. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Great. Cool. So moving on. A privacy checker. So there is an application, a web app, that provides information for each of, I guess, the top sort of social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and so forth, step-by-step instructions on how to modify your privacy settings. So I'll click on one of these hyperlinks and hopefully it opens up, and then I'll go through it with you guys. Can you see my browser?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Great. That worked at least. So I'll look at sort of the social media one because it's the one that I guess makes the most amount of sense and applies to everyone. I think most people have social media. So I guess Instagram is by far the most popular social media when it comes to the youth of today. So I'll click on that one. And you can see that it sort of provides, you can download it as a PDF. I'll just go through the web page, but it provides step-by-step instructions on how to do sort of the most common best practice when it comes to sort of, I guess, making your account private, reporting posts or profiles, limiting users and so forth. So it provides sort of screenshots, step by step, obviously going on your settings and so forth on how to make your account private. So I'd highly recommend you all. I'm sure most of you have your accounts already private, but there are a lot of other features that are I didn't even know about, and I'm quite an Instagram user. So do explore this webpage. I'm sure the slides will be shared after this talk. So do explore that webpage, and it's really good. Cool. So we have another video, but unfortunately, because I can't share my audio, I'll talk a bit about this video, and it's primarily to do with a technology known as Deepfake, which some call it AI, some don't call it AI, but it's basically the whole principle of content generation based on input, right? So I know there's really cool uses of it, such as ChatGPT or generative art, but technologies as a whole always come with unintended consequences, right? So one of the unintended consequences of deepfake is producing content that is malicious or used with malicious intent. So the video goes through sort of I guess a recording, and then someone has generated or cloned someone's voice and sent a recording to someone that they're associated with, I guess, sort of reflecting an emergency situation where they're asking them for some money. So, and it's quite believable. A lot of the time, you should, I guess, sort of the motto from this, or the lesson learned from this, is realize that the content that you publish online today, the technology for today, I guess maybe 10 years ago, a lot of content was sort of posted on YouTube, but people at the time didn't think of this because this technology wasn't around. So you have to think, you don't necessarily have to think of the technology of today. You have to consider the technology of the future and how that technology can be used with malicious intent. And it's quite scary. Sort of things that you would consider to be, I guess, not a problem, such as recording a podcast or answering a Q&A or like I'm doing, it might not be seen as an insecure thing maybe about 10 years ago, but now someone could take this voice recording, generate an MP3 file, clone my voice, and say anything they want, and use that maliciously. So it is quite scary.
Hey, Ali.
Yes.
I believe we have a solution to our video issue. Catherine is going to share her screen and share audio so that everyone can see this video.
Fantastic. Yeah, that would be great.
Awesome. Okay, Catherine, you can go ahead and share your screen.
Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, let's give this a go. Oh.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. It's me, Ella. Well, a digital version of me. Just a bit older. Amazing what technology can do these days, isn't it? All you need are a couple of pictures, like the ones you share on social media, where they can be taken and used by everybody. I know for you, these pictures are just memories, but for others, they are data. And for me, maybe the beginning of a horrible future. A future where my identity can be stolen just like that. Where I can go to prison for things that I would never do. Imagine my credit score being destroyed, Dad. Or my voice copied to scam you, Mom. Mom, I'm in trouble. I need you to send me money, please. I don't want to become a meme, humiliated by everyone at school. What you share online is like a digital footprint that will follow me around for the rest of my life. I'm telling you this because I know you love me and would never do anything to harm me. So please, Mom, please, Dad, protect my virtual privacy.
Yeah, so thanks for that sharing that video, Catherine. I think the most important lesson to learn here is that for the most part, people do it unintentionally. I'm sure no one makes it easy for anyone. And a lot of the time it's sort of small things. That picture was only generated with one picture, I believe. So imagine feeding it 1,000 pictures. What could it do? It could obviously produce a more accurate representation of your face in 5 years' time. And that's only the technology right now. I think that's the scariest part, right? A lot of content that is produced stays on the internet forever, right? Can be accessed 10 years in the future. Imagine how good this is going to be 10 years down the line. Cool. So I'll reshare my screen and go through some of the other slides. So could it happen to me? Absolutely it could. And the top tips to stay safe online. So the youth are equally at risk. I think a lot of the time the youth are under the assumption that because they have no money, for the most part, obviously those that are under the age of 18 mostly don't have a credit card or a bank account. They're not at risk. And a lot of the crime that does happen is sort of financially related, yes, but sometimes it's not necessarily financially related. Sometimes they could be a victim of bullying or other crimes. So the top tips I have is to use a strong passphrase. So don't set your password as password or your surname followed by the year of your birth. Make it hard. And also don't set the same password for everything or every application that you use. The best analogy would be, imagine having a key that opens every single door in your life, whether that's the front door, the back door, the door to your car, the door to your safe, the door to your shop if you're a shop owner. Imagine if that door, or not that door, that key was to be lost. It'd be quite scary, right? Or that key was to end up in the wrong hands. Another thing you should do is enable two-factor authentication. So what this is an extra sort of password, think of it, an extra way of verifying who you are. The best sort of way to implement this would be via an authenticator app over an SMS. The main reason for this is due to an attack called a SIM swap, which, for those who are interested, they could do more research into that. Don't accept messages from strangers. I think this is the same sort of message that is given to us, or everyone, regardless of the generation. Don't talk to strangers. It's sort of the same message, but from a digital perspective. I think it's scarier or more dangerous digitally, right? It takes some guts and courage to commit a crime in person compared to online. And that's the reason why most crime nowadays is cyber related. Keep devices up to date, so don't be lazy when it comes to updating your device. When a new patch comes out or a new sort of update, not only does it add functionality, but usually it patches existing known vulnerabilities. So do ensure to update your device as soon as possible. Same message, keep your online accounts and devices private, and obviously don't share your location unless it's absolutely necessary. And also with trusted people. Cool. So remember, the most important thing to do is stay vigilant. If you think it might be a suspicious email, telephone call, or even text message, just stop and think. That's the most important thing. Don't click on the hyperlink that is attached to the email. Stop and think before you do anything. And if you're not unsure, you can obviously have that conversation with people. No one's going to look down upon you if you ask someone for advice. It's better to ask for advice and feel a bit embarrassed than it is to fall a victim of cybercrime. So do that. And obviously, always sort of keep in mind how you can mitigate your online risks. I think risks change by the day. Attackers become smarter and smarter as the days go on. So it's important to sort of refresh this list of risks. The risks of today might not be applicable in 5 years' time. So do your research. I think that's the best sort of strategy you can have moving forward. So I'm done with slides. So if you have any questions, now's the time to ask.
Thank you, Ali. That was a great presentation. You did a very good job with all the technical issues and everything.
No problem at all.
Okay, so we do have a couple comments and questions in the chat so far, and everyone, please feel free to continue to ask as I ask Ali some things here. And so the first one that we have is, how about turning off the microphone functionality? I noticed you discuss a topic and you automatically get flooded with ads about that said topic. So do you think it's a good idea to turn off that microphone capability, Ellie?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to turn off all capabilities that are sensitive. I guess the best analogy would be, imagine if someone had a microphone and publicized it for the world in your house. I think you wouldn't want that, right? So do turn it off whenever you don't want it turned on.
Yeah, and I will say also, I can add to that, a lot of that is your Hey Siri capability, because if you have Hey Siri on, it's literally listening for Hey Siri 24/7. So it's going to be listening to everything you're saying. And so you can turn that capability off too, and that also helps with all the ads popping up in your phone listening to you if you feel wary about that. So that's just another tip that you can do as well. Okay, thank you, Ali, for that. And then the next one is there a way to post a picture without putting yourself or friends at risk?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. There is. So the whole notion about this is to sort of set your profile in such a way that only trusted people have access to it. So I don't think it's necessarily unsafe to post on social media, I think it's just unsafe to post to people that are not trusted. So that guide that I sent, that web application that I demonstrated, it will go over ways that you can limit who sees any detail of your profile. I know there is a way on Facebook, for example, to lock your profile completely, so they can't view anything, any sort of public person that is outside of your friends list. So sort of the whole point of this is, if you have a private account, that doesn't necessarily mean you're sort of secure. Because a lot of the time, I have friends that have random followers that they've never met. So the most important thing is only allow access to those that you trust and truly trust, not someone that you sort of met actually once or twice.
Yeah, right. And so I think this also brings up a good point that it might be a good idea for not only, your kids, but you also to go through all of your contacts in your social media accounts and really look at them and ask yourself, why am I friends with them? Have I been associating with them? Do I know them very well? If I don't, I probably don't need to be following them and they don't need to be following me. So go ahead and do a clean out of your social media friends and just look at them to make sure that they are someone that you trust and that you know very well. And then if you haven't already done this, like Ali said, make your social media accounts private. You don't need every single individual to be seeing your account. And a good example of this really quickly is my aunt got spoofed on Facebook, and her spoofed account was asking all of her friends to basically reconnect with her because she lost her other account. And I noticed this and immediately told her about it, and she was kind of freaking out, and she didn't understand how this happened and how her account she had the same picture and everything for the account. It looked exactly like her, except it wasn't. And I told her, well, because your account is public, and if your account is public, anyone and everyone can see your account. They can go in and take your pictures and reuse them. And so it's extremely important to make sure that our accounts are private in that instance. All right. So next question is, is that the same for Androids? And Jessica, I'm assuming you're asking for the Siri turn off and the microphone turn off. I don't know what Androids use as Siri. Is it like a Google? It might be like the Google Play thing, right? I would say it's the same though. So anything that works like Siri on Android, yes, I would turn that capability off as well. Because again, it's literally listening for those words that you're supposed to say. And so it's constantly listening to you. Okay. Well, yeah, so Ramina's making a point, Ali, that smart speakers at home are a big culprit too. Example, Alexa, Google Home, etc. Right?
I personally don't own an Alexa or one of those devices. More of a sort of personal choice. They're quite cheap relative to sort of other technologies, and that's always been a question of mine, why they so cheap. They could be much more expensive. There's probably a reason why. So yeah, and for sure with any sort of appliance like that, there is a way of limiting sort of the controls in which it can hear. So yes, there's probably a mechanism out there to limit when it sort of records or listens in.
Yeah, so that would be like in your privacy settings and all the other settings within those devices as well. So make sure you go through all of your settings on your home smart devices to make sure that those are all turned off as well. Okay, so the next question is, if accounts are set to private, does the likelihood of being hacked lower?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's quite sort of, I guess, what do you exactly mean by hacked?
I think she's meaning, Julie asked this question. I think she's meaning, and Julie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, she means maybe like your account gets broken into. So, for example, maybe your password got taken.
Yeah,
and
so
now
I
they're
think
into your account.
Yeah, so obviously if you make your account private and you don't sort of display that information, there is less of a likelihood for an attacker, a third party obviously, that isn't following your account to collate the information and then make assumptions based on your password or a password choice. Usually, a lot of attackers, I'm guilty of this myself. I usually sometimes post that it's my birthday, and it's not just your own account being hacked. It's also sort of someone impersonating your identity. So one of the defense mechanisms that these, I guess, credit agencies set up is obviously verifying your date of birth, right? So that's one of them. And there are other ways to do it as well. So it's just about limiting the information that is online. And if you do that, obviously you're going to reduce the likelihood. So
Yeah, and also Julie, security is never 100%, 100%. We can
yes.
never say that we're 100% secure. So could your account be hacked even if it's private? Absolutely, it can. I think the best way to defend against that is having a great password. So a long passphrase is what we like to say, something that you can remember. Also, using password managers is a great way to keep all of your passwords together. So I would highly recommend that as well. And your kids can be using those too if they need to remember all their passwords for school and things like that. So it's not just for us. Your kids can be using this as well. And that is a great way to make sure that your account, it lowers the chances of your account being hacked. And then also creating unique passwords for all of your accounts too. So don't use the same password for Facebook as you do for Instagram or Snapchat. That's a great way. If someone gets into your Facebook account and you're using the same password as your Instagram account, they're into Instagram as well. So just make sure you're using separate passwords for everything. And again, password managers are a great way to do that. There's great personal ones that you can use out there if you go and search for them. I know 1Password is something that a lot of people like to use. I use KeePass Touch for Apple. And then for Androids, it's going to be Android. It's going to be KeePass to Android. I always get that wrong. KeePass to the number 2 Android. So you can go ahead and look that up as well. But there's also other great options. Just go ahead and research the one that works best for you at home. For work, we are using KeePass XC.
Also, make sure to set up two-factor authentication. I did go through it in the slides. Even if your password was to be compromised as a result of a data leak in your part, or as a result of a data leak of a big company, that would be an extra layer of protection to ensure that that attacker doesn't get access to your account. At the same time, that isn't completely secure as well, so you can fall victim to a SIM swap scam. That's why you should always set a two-factor authentication with an authenticator app as opposed to your sort of phone number. That's the sort of most secure way to do it.
Yeah, Google has an authenticator app, and I know that other companies do too. Yeah. All right. That was a good little conversation. Thanks, Julie, for asking that question. Let's see. Oh, sorry, Laura. Laura said my phone Siri just asked me what's up from saying, "Hey Siri." Sorry. See, you gotta turn it off, Laura. See, it's listening. It's listening.
Listening.
Okay. Okay, so a lot of these are comments. Let's see. I know for Android devices, every app has to list the permissions it requires on your phone so you can see this before you download it. It's always good to check that an app only uses permissions it needs. A photo gallery app, for example, should have no need to access your mic. So that was Aaron, by the way. So yes, thank you, Aaron, for that. Okay. Let's see, I'm looking for some more questions. Okay, so isn't posting on social media inherently a risk, as some platforms contain location metadata and sometimes ad profile data, which contains estimates on age, gender, and interests? That's a good question.
Yeah, so for the most part, big tech, if the data is PID, so personally identifiable, they do have an inherent requirement to encrypt that data. So there isn't as much of a risk. The biggest risk is yourself leaking that data. I think that's the most important lesson for the youth, and that is not to be so worried about data leak from sort of big tech and be more worried about yourself leaking data. So yes, there is a risk. There is definitely a risk, but the huge risk is yourself. So
yeah, that's right. Great. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Still looking for some more questions. Let's see. Okay, do security cameras like Ring also pose same risk as personal home devices like Alexa?
I haven't. By Ring, do you mean sort of the doorbell?
Yeah, the doorbell,
Yeah.
and it has a camera there.
I personally don't own one of those devices, so I wouldn't be the best person to comment on it.
Yeah,
Does it?
I mean,
I guess it sort of has a live feed of outside of your house and allows for. I'm not sure. I haven't. I don't own one of those devices, so
yeah, it's
I'm not
okay.
going to comment on this. So
Yeah, I can actually comment a little bit on this. So, again, like all smart devices have a risk. So for the security cameras for Ring, for example, if you set it to record 24/7, it's going to keep that data somewhere. So it's recording other people. And this question actually came up a little while ago as well about how it's recording other people, and it could be recording you. So if you're in like an apartment complex, for example, and you're walking by and there's a Ring there, if those people are recording you, you are on their camera. And so some people don't feel comfortable with that. They don't want this camera to be following their every move all the time. And so one of the best ways that you can mitigate this is you can always talk to your neighbor about, hey, where is this data being stored? Are you keeping it for a certain amount of days? And then are you getting rid of it? So that would be the best way to mitigate against that situation. For other situations, again, having a great password and then also multi-factor authentication to get into this account on a Ring or even just any camera that you have outside is always a great way to protect yourself against someone coming in and looking through that camera, because there are ways to do that. In fact, we've had other people come through and do webinars and kind of show how easy it is to go look for these cameras and look live at what's going on. And so again, having a really great, strong, unique password and two-factor authentication setup, if you can, is a great way to mitigate your risk with all of that. So yes, like anything, it does pose a risk. So just making sure that you are just being careful with those. And again, just go ahead and look at your cameras as well to see where you're saving it and what's going on with that data as well, because you don't need to keep your recordings forever, right? So there is always settings that you can set up to make sure that that data is not being kept forever and it's getting deleted after a while. I hope that answered your question. I think so. So okay, I can't say your name. I'm really sorry. I'm gonna say your last name. Just sorry. Ask that question. But thank you so much for that. That was a great question. All right, another option is just don't use Facebook. I mean, yes, Alan, but we don't want people to be scared, and the youth is definitely going to be using social media. And so this isn't really to scare anyone. This is more just to inform you about the risks involved and how you can help yourselves and your children mitigate those risks. So yes,
and
like
also,
we could say the easiest thing is to don't use AI. Like, let's just not use AI, but we know that's not going to happen, right? Because there's positives and negatives to technology. And so we just have to learn how to use them correctly.
and also just to add a further comment, to a certain extent, you are right. It does definitely reduce your risk. But at the same time, for example, this presentation, it's being recorded, and
Mhm.
someone could obviously clone my voice, take an MP3 of this presentation and clone my voice. The most important thing is to realize there is an inherent risk with using all technology as a whole, and not just sort of social media. Social media is by far the most popular or most used case study, but I guess we have a company thanks to technology. So does that mean we all just go and live in a farm somewhere? No, I don't think that's a solution. The solution is to threat model your risks, is to realize um, sort of where you lie and review it from a third person perspective.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, so next question. This is a really good question too. Would you recommend updating to new major operating system updates as soon as they're available that contain privacy patches at the risk of running buggy, unstable software? Like iOS 17 will be released today at 1800. What would you advise?
The advice I would give is obviously you'd hope that big tech, especially a company like Apple, would run a proper release process in which most of sort of those bugs are patched. But I obviously you should always update to the latest software. I think that's not to be sort of questioned. I think there's a higher risk of you being compromised as a result of one of those bugs from that are patched than there is from any sort of buggy software or unstable software, especially something like iOS 17, which is a major release. They do their due diligence. So that's the advice I would give. Always update to the latest patch.
Yeah. All right. Can someone share that? Well, yes, we will be sharing the recording after this event, and we're also going to be handing out the slides as well. So everyone will be getting all of that. Are there any solutions for adding watermarks or others to know if a picture audio is duplicated?
Yeah, so with that, there are not artificial intelligences, but there are applications out there that do remove watermarks. So I guess from my perspective, I was having this conversation with some of my colleagues. I think the best way to sort of defend against AI is by using an AI to detect a generated content. I think humans right now it's quite easy to tell if it's deepfake. It's quite sort of not as natural, but I think 10 years, 15 years down the line, this technology will only improve. I mean, if you look at the mobile phone 10, 15 years ago, it's not so comparable at all. So yeah, no, it's hopefully in the future someone will create an AI that could detect if something is generated via AI. So the only way is to use it, unfortunately.
The only way to
Yeah.
protect from AI is to use AI.
Yes,
That's
is
a
to use
great
AI,
little,
yes.
yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Charlie wanted to add a point of the strongest protection is the weakest link in your security. For example, you make your Facebook profile private, but one of your family members has a public profile and reposting your pictures. That's out to the world, right?
Yeah, so it's important to spread the word to family and friends. If you notice such a
Yes.
thing, do have that conversation. Do have those open conversations of your family and friends. It's more of a reason to do it as well. So, yeah, the most important thing is to spread the word.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So again, make sure that you have an open conversation with your kids. Make sure you have a good relationship with your kids, so that they can feel like they can come to you for anything that's going on in their life, no matter what it is. Make sure that they feel comfortable coming to you about situations because you never know what's going on. Kids are very good at hiding things sometimes. So just make sure they feel comfortable coming to you. And again, spread the word not only to your kids, but to your whole entire family, right? Because if you're linked with your family, if you're following your family and they're following you, but their account is public, well, then your account can be seen as well, right? Because people can at least see that you're friends with them and then try to spoof that account and get you to, accept that fake account. So yeah, make sure everyone is on private. So thank you, Charlie, for stating that. It's a great point. So far, I'm not seeing anything else in here. Does anyone need to come off of mute and ask a question? Feel free to. Don't be shy. I know there was a hand up at some point.
I have a comment, if I may.
Yeah.
Actually, I do appreciate how softly Ali tried to explain the risks, and as well as you, Amanda, of course. I am from different generation, and I used to say straightforward what's happening, not that soft. And I have to say that risks in cyber environment are not accidental. They are created by many people deliberately. So you are hunted. Know about that and act accordingly. Exactly all questions are very valuable and can help you. But you don't think that everybody around is a friend. Let's put this diplomatic expression.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so guys, when I was in university and later on in industry, I always was taught design for the rainy day first. The sunny day will go easy.
Yeah.
So this is kind of motto. Many people disagree. Many people would like to enjoy life first and everything else take care after. But sometimes you are getting out of capabilities to take care later on. So please try to find the balance between actual risk, accidental risk, and happiness. Sorry for that.
That's okay. That's
That's
great.
right. Thank you very much for
Thank you,
sharing that,
Michael.
Michael. Yeah, no, a lot of this is quite scary, and during the presentation, I tried my hardest to, I guess, put a, I guess, positive light to it. That it's not the end of the world, and there is still time. Most of us haven't fell sort of. I can speak upon myself. I haven't sort of fell victim to this yet, so I guess there is some positive light out there. Most people on social media are good, and it's only that sort of select few that cause the issues. But yeah, thanks for sharing your opinion, Michael.
Thank you.
I have a question.
We can
I have a
talk
question
off the
regarding.
line.
I have a
Sounds good.
question regarding empty phone calls that you receive. Is that by any chance refining the voice footprint that we're putting out there when you get an empty phone call and you're saying hello, hello, hello?
Yes, yeah. There's a huge sort of risk with those empty phone calls. I was discussing this with a colleague actually, I guess a few days ago, regarding sort of greeting. A lot of the time people greet with a yes, right? I think, and usually what that's doing is signing up to one of these sort of subscriptions or schemes that overcharge people. So the most important thing to do when sort of answering a call isn't to answer with a yes, or if greeted with a question that could be a yes, not to answer with a yes and answer with something that is not yes. So you don't sign up to one of these scams. Yeah, it's very important not to sort of answer those phone calls unless you're expecting a phone call. Obviously, like for example, with sort of we have 111, which is sort of a health service, and sometimes they give you a call back. So obviously pick that up, but don't. If you're expecting a call, do pick it up. But if you're not, I wouldn't recommend picking anything up.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Anything else? Any other questions? Comments?
Yeah. So John has an interesting comment, and it's something that my friend actually showcased to me, which was an AI that answers your phone call for you. So Google has this great defense that uses an AI to fight another AI, which is what I was talking about earlier on, that will answer the phone call for you. And you can pre-screen calls before having to sort of actually answer it yourself. So
Yeah. Very cool.
yes. Yeah, so David summarized it pretty well. So don't say yes. Am I speaking to David? Don't say yes, say you are. So,
Yeah, that's actually really great advice.
Just be
All
careful
right.
not to follow it up with "you are." Yes. Oh.
yes.
Yeah.
A very valid point. A very valid point.
All right. Is there anything else that you all have any questions about? Oh, Catherine? Yes.
That was a mistake, sorry.
Okay. All right.
It's not a
Well,
question, but it is
Oh, yeah.
a big thank you to Ali. That was excellent.
You're welcome. No, thank you very much for listening. And there was quite a huge participation. So thank you very much all for your time.
Yes. Ellie, you did awesome. Thank you so much.